Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nupehadda, and today I am doing a review of a versus Exodia chicken race and chicken race. This is pretty much my viewpoints on it. Take it as you see fit. But I do hope this helps casual players understand more about the differences in terms of their builds and which ones are more dependable based on my playtesting of them. I did playtest them a little bit. Both versions did some changes to the deck you see up front, and my own personal thoughts and everything I'm going to be showing. Anyways, Royal Magical Library is a 3. This card is the enabler of the deck. While it's on the field, as long as a player activates a spell card, it'll gain counters up to a maximum of 3 counters. When you get a maximum of 3 counters, you can remove those counters during your main phase and draw 1 card. Sounds simple enough, but usually the simplest of cards are usually the most broken. What this does is for every spell card that you or your opponent activates, it gains a counter, and then you can draw eventually. That's how it enables. Chicken Game, also known as Chicken Race to me and to everyone else in the OCG. I prefer to call it Chicken Game or Chicken Race because it sounds better than Chicken Game. Chicken Race is a field magic card. While it's on the field, the player with the lowest life points takes no damage. And once per turn during your main phase of the player, they can activate one of the following effects. Draw 1 card. Destroy this card. Your opponent gains a life or 1,000 life points. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card to these effects activations. And I want to point this out that you can only activate 1 effect per chicken race. However, if you can activate multiple chicken races and whatnot, then you can go off for each one. Cursed Baboon Sword and Golden Baboon Sword. Cursed Baboon Sword is a equip card that allows you to equip to a monster. It gains 0 attack. This is not to say that it will make the monster's attack 0, it just means that they'll gain 0. You ask why this is relevant? Well, technically it's not. What is relevant is its last effect, but the second effect of it is that it allows the monster to attack directly. So if you have a high attacking monster, you equip Cursed Baboon Sword and you can attack directly with it. And not only that, but its last effect is important. If it is sent to the graveyard, you can search for another baboon card, excluding Cursed Baboon Sword. And that's where we go into Golden Baboon Sword. But Golden Baboon Sword, you can only activate it when you control a Baboon Sword equipped card. Then you draw 2 cards. So what happens here is that you equip this to either a monster your opponent controls or your Royal Magical Library, which will add a counter there. Then you activate Golden Baboon Sword, it allows you to draw 2 cards and add a counter to that. Next, we're going to get into the most expensive card in the deck, Into the Void. As of right now, it is Saturday, August 8th, 2015. This card is about $40 to $50 right now. It has never been reprinted, and it only comes in 2 rarities, Ultra and Ultimate. So this is the difference maker in terms of price between the Exodia build and the pure chicken race build. This is essential for draw power. However, keep a note that when you activate this card, you have to have at least 3 or more cards in your hand. You draw 1 card, and then at the end of the turn, you discard your entire hand. Now, with chicken race build, you don't care about your hand in a sense. If you can get the combo what you need to do, then you don't have to worry as much. Magical Mallets. This allows you to recycle cards that are in your hand that you don't particularly need, such as a second or third copy of Royal Magical Library in your hand when you already have one on the field, and or any extra copies of Pod Dualities that I have in this build. but it does allow you to have more flexibility with the deck. Pretty much what it does is when you activate it, you select cards in your hand to send back to your deck and draw the same number of cards you sent back to your deck after you shuffle, of course. That's very essential. It is a -1, but with Chicken Race, you get a you even out with it. Magical Stone Extraction. Magical Stone, we'll go with that because it's 2:34 in the morning for me. I'm tired, but I figure I'll at least do this. But Magical Stone, what it does, you discard 2 cards from your hand and target 1 magic card and add it to your hand that it's in your graveyard. Essential for activating Golden Baboon Sword again, getting another Chicken Race, and or whatever else you might need, like Into the Void or something. I personally like getting the Golden Baboon Sword because it's a +1, because it allows you to draw 2. So 1 Day of Peace. 1 Day of Peace is an interesting card in this for me, as I do not know if I like it in it or not. There are times where I'm glad I'm able to draw it because it allows me to not take any damage the turn until my next turn. But at the same time, if it's a late game scenario, what happens is that you cannot go into the FTK move, which is the Magical Explosion combo, which we'll get to here in a minute. 2 Polydualities. The reason I only run 2 is because I feel 3 is too many and 1 is not enough. And what it does, you draw, or you excavate. Yeah, I'm going to have to learn that new term now. You excavate 3 cards from the top of your deck. You choose one of those cards and add it to your hand. The rest go back to your deck and shuffled. You cannot special summon the turn you activate this card, nor can you activate more than 1. And that's pretty much the logistics of it. Persona Space, I believe it's pronounced. Like I said, it's 2:35 in the morning, so this is pretty much a field card that acts as another name of a field card by banishing that original copy from the grave. So these become Chicken Race. So this is your 6th Chicken Race in the deck. You banish 1, and you treat that as Chicken Race until the end of the turn. One of my interesting moves with this is that I'll go into Chicken Race, and then I'll go into Persona Space and activate its effect, and then I'll leave it alone and leave it on the field and everything, because by doing that, your opponent cannot use Chicken Race for their benefit. So it allows you to keep the flow going. On the downside, you do not want to activate multiples of these if you can help it, because it does help in the draws and everything, but you have to look at it from the long-term perspective, because you keep on drawing everything, eventually you're going to burn yourself out, and you're going to keep on banishing Chicken Races, which can be picked up by Magical Stone if you so desire. 2 reloads. I've been testing it at 3, and 3 just feels too much, so I'm using 2, and I feel comfortable with it. Reload is pretty much you send all cards from your hand to the deck, and you shuffle, and you draw that as many as you put back into the deck. That's all it is. It's the original. It is the original card that pretty much reshuffled your hand. Magical Mallet was the second one that came out. It was a couple years later, I believe. But Magical Mallet is more flexible, and that's why I run at 3, while this is mandatory to have all your cards back to your deck and shuffled. Terraforming searches for Chicken Race and Persona Space. It's pretty much allows you to get the Chicken Race OTK going off faster. It's pretty much what it does. It just adds a field card from your deck to your hand. Tune, Table of Contents, and Toon World. A lot of people are going to be shaking their heads why I'm running this. It should be obvious in a sense that it gives you draw power, or search power I should say, for this scenario, but it also adds counters to Royal Magical Library, which is important, and it defends the deck for the next cards. Upstart Goblins, you draw a card, your opponent gains a 1,000 life. Simple as that. Which in this in this instance for the deck itself, you want to give your opponent more life points that you're getting, because each time you activate effect on Chicken Race, which I forgot to mention, I believe, you take 1,000 points of damage. However, this is important because of the next couple cards here. Life Equalizer. Activate this card when the difference between both players' life points are 8,000 or more. Both players' life points become 3,000. Step 1 in the combo. And step 2 is Magical Explosion. You can activate this card when you have no cards in your hand. Inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent. Life points for each magic card in your graveyard. So the idea concept is this. You activate Life Equalizer to make your opponent's life points 3,000. You activate Magical Explosion and you damage them for how many spell cards you have in your graveyard times 200. So this is one of the reasons why you keep on using draw engines and searches and all that, because you're trying to fill up your graveyard with spell cards for the Magical Explosion. Royal Magical Library enables you to keep drawing into more support. Now for the Exodia build. As you notice, there's a little bit of changes, but not much. The first thing you'll notice is that Into the Void is not in this deck. It is not a good card in the Exodia version of this build. Take my experience on this scenario as much as you can, because even if it does give you a +1 on your draw, you're going to run the risk of drawing one of the Exodia pieces when you don't want it to see it in that scenario. And what happens at the end is that it goes to the graveyard and you have no way of recovering it. But pretty much each one of the Exodia pieces, Exodia of course is the winning condition, one of them. I don't treat it as the main one. I still believe that the Magical Explosions is the better choice because less setup. But Royal Magical Library, Chicken Race, I'm running 2 Baboon or Curse Baboon swords in this. I don't feel like 3 is a necessity in the Exodia version. 3 Golden Baboon Sword, it's too good. Magical Mallet, 2 stones, 1 for 1, 1 Pot of Duality, because I need the room, 3 Personas, 2 Reloads, 3 Terraforms, 3 Toon Table of Contents, 1 Toon World, 3 Upstuck Goblins, and of course Life Equalizer and Magical Explosions. I personally believe that the Chicken Race or AF or the OTK and the FTK are the better than Exodia, as the Exodia build, from my experience with it for today, is you are utilizing 5 cards that do practically nothing in your hand. It is true that the Life Equalizer and Magical Explosions are technically the same scenario, but they have a better setup than Exodia does. And taking out Into the Void from the main deck of this really hurts. However, if you want a cheaper build of Chicken Race and everything, I would go with the Exodia build. And I hope that you have the creative mind to figure out the different ways to make Exodia come out faster than I have. With that said, as I said, from my personal experience with the decks you've seen here, I favor Chicken Race, the pure build, better. But I also want to point out that Chicken Race is not my type of deck. You do have to make sure you're playing smart with this, because if you don't, you will screw up. So, Chicken Race is a lot more easier to maintain. You have a lot less dead cards. And the Exodia build should be more for a fun build. I'm not saying either of these decks are competitive. I don't even see them as tier 1 or even tier 2. But they are going to be that the troll stalling deck, or the deck that you're going to see at the regionals that are just there to mess with people. It will not stop Necros, it will not stop BAs or anything like that unless you go first and you become godly with hands. There's a few cards you might not seen in here that people are going to question why I don't run. I'll try to go for the list of what I know. Hand destruction, I don't use that because you are relying more on your magic cards than you are on your trap and your effect monsters, considering you have a total of 5 of both. But if you only had like 2 cards in your hand, once you activate hand destruction and everything, and you have to discard one of your traps, you're dead. You have to have your traps. They are very important. That's the only reason this deck exists. Dark World Dealing, I don't like it because, as again, you have important cards. You should not at any time be getting rid of cards. The only cards I can possibly imagine you can try to get rid of is the second Pod Duality or one of the magical stones because you've already used it and you have no other reason to. Or the Toon World. The only reason Toon World is in this is because it decks you 1,000 life points off, which is more crucial to get this combo going. Exodia is more high maintenance and is less consistent. Like, this is the best build I can think of. If anyone has any better builds, let me know. But from what I've been seeing on this, this is the better build, hands down. These are but it also makes these expensive. And as I said before, Into the Void is the idea card for this deck. It is pretty much a 1-for-1 for the deck. You can manage without it, but then you should at least be running this. I run both the Magical Explosion and the Exodia combo because I want winning. I want more than one winning condition. But realistically speaking, Chicken Race, the pure build, is the best from the two. And I do appreciate y'all for watching this. If y'all have any questions about the Chicken Race deck and everything, let me know in the comments below. Thank you and good night.